So Lulu Trevena is the founder of Live Life with Wonder. She's an award-winning author, artist, and quantum healing practitioner who's passionate about shifting the societal narrative about women and age. Her transformational programs will help you live with the confidence to do anything at any stage of life, and you can find her at livelifewithwonder.com. So Lulu, you're on.
Thank you so much, Ginny. Thank you, ladies. It's nice to be here. I'm going to be sharing my screen. Let me just get that up. Can you see that now? Great. So today I want to be celebrating us as the mature female that we are, and we're going to talk a little bit about the female brain. So being a woman is fantastic. It takes exquisite skill to harness the power that the hormones surging through our body, affecting our moods, our emotions, and our actions. But this does not mean that we can blame anything on our hormones for anything we do or anything we experience, although society may have made us believe this at times. What we are doing all the time with the learning of our own brain is building a skill. And as we come to this age, in our mature age, there's other skills that are coming in. So I'm Lulu Trevena, and I come from a community of women. I have 5 biological sisters. We were born in 7 years. I've been a life learner for over 35 years around women's issues, around health, emotions, spirituality. I'm a home birth mother, a yoga teacher, a quantum healer, an author, and an artist. So I have been in the delight of learning, and especially around women's things, I've found that nearly all things associated with the human body or aging have been done on men. So that, I think, makes for a little bit of false data, that we're looking at a woman from a man's data. So this needs to be broadened, I think, as we move forward and we have a greater understanding. And some of you may know that, you know, sitting for meditation is actually a masculine approach. And moving in meditation is much more a feminine approach. So when we're, when we're walking or when we're dancing, we're much more can connect to that divine essence through the movement as well, because that's much more feminine in nature. I've discovered during my love of learning this very smart, very lovable, and a little quirky neuropsychiatrist called Dr. Luann Bresadine, and she brings information about women and our brain, specifically the development of the brain and also to the mature female brain. She's the founder of the Women's Mood and Hormone Clinic. She's a neuropsychiatrist at UCSF. She's the author of New York bestselling The Female Brain and also The Male Brain. And she did a movie in 2017 called The Female Brain. She served on the faculty of Harvard and UCSF. Let me just narrow that. So what she's found out, as well as many other people in the medical professions, that every brain begins as a female brain, and that it happens around the 8-week mark of the conception, that it changes depending on the chromosome to become a male brain. And this is because the testosterone actually shrinks the communication center for men. And this also reduces the hearing cortex, and it makes this part of the brain reduced, while in effect it doubles the size of the part associated with sex. It becomes larger. So you can see that procreation is important for the male to increase humans on the planet, but also these biological differences is already coded into us. So she Dr. Luann talks about in the womb that this larger communication center and these emotional centers of the women are just developing at this larger state. That's why women can use 20,000 words per day and men use 7,000. And the emotional centers of the woman also can sense what people are feeling a lot easier. And also they can remember details, especially in arguments, and often men don't. In childhood, we have this time where the actual hormones aren't actually doing anything, especially in that sort of, 2 to 10 age group. They're just at a stable place. And so the young girl is not really wanting to do, rough and tumble type things. She is more, has the focus on social skills, empathy, and this is how she works in her environment. And it's actually classed as an aggressive approach, which I don't kind of feel so good about that word specifically, but it's important that she is using her focus to make the relationship be the strongest part of her life. Oh, wrong direction. Coming into the teenage brain. So this may offer some comfort for anyone who has teenagers. The teenage girl brain, she's feeling very powerful. She also wants to be right in everything, but she can be blind to any consequences. Without this actual drive in her, she can't grow up. So this is very important, but it also puts her in a place of she's feeling this full girl power, specifically through her premenstrual syndrome, any sexual competition, any controlling groups with girls. And it puts her brain state into a really bit of a hellish sort of movement. So it's quite hard at this stage for teenagers, especially if they're dealing with other things as well. So we need to have this beautiful tenderness around this age. So just for a little bit of humor here and maybe some truths so we can laugh at ourselves. I like that shoes are right there, and we have, cosmetics and diamonds, and the reading map ability is kind of quite small. So, and this also can be related to our cycle as well. At different parts of our cycle, these can be turned on, turned off, etc. So just a little bit about just us as females. So when we come to the mummy brain, which is, I have the image there of the lioness, she has to have that fierce protection against her young. So she has to have that available to her, as well as she needs the comfort that she needs to be able to tend to and nurse and nurture the child. So in society, most women have been programmed that there's this delicate interplay of the hormones, the physical touch, the emotions, the brain circuits are to actually care for and fix. And so it's quite a roller coaster. And for me specifically, I had my third child at 41. And then we also moved to the US when I turned 50. So you can imagine the hormones moving through my body and what's happening in my brain are affecting my life in numerous ways. We come then to perimenopause. And they say it's like adolescence, but without the fun. So the female brain, in effect, has been almost daily having an uncertainty since about the age of 47. And my oldest sister, she said she believes she started having this kind of perimenopausal effect around mid-30s. So it can happen at an earlier stage as well. Often it coincides with our last child leaving home or going to college, and we get the constant change of moods. We can have emotional outbursts. We can feel a lack of joy or hope. And while we say this is like adolescence, there is definitely no fun in this way that happens with the chemicals moving through our body. So this is when the ovaries are making an erratic amount of estrogen before stopping the production of the hormone altogether. And so your brain is at the mercy of these changing hormones. But whereas in puberty, there is just a psychological stress happening, and we're still, concerned about our appearance. We're dealing with, families growing and expanding and moving away. So this can be, of course, unsettling for the woman, but also unsettling for the partners. So you may have heard, probably in the last maybe 10 years, I'm thinking, you hear the term queen a lot. And whereas maybe all women want to don this crown, we come to a stage in our mature brain that, we want to be much more sovereign to ourselves. And so it's like a rite of passage coming into menopause. It's like a start over. And the interesting thing for us as healers and coaches is there is 1,500,000 in the US women entering the phase of menopause each month. So this is often who we are, is our ideal client, and we are working with. So we know this as a helpful statistic for us moving forward. And women in their 50s are actually having much more clarity. They don't have quite the same tug at the heartstrings. Like Jenny said before about, wanting to do things that she maybe doesn't want to do. We're very much more clearer about that now. We're prepared to take risks and walk in the direction of our own dreams. We also are coming to this place of asking a different question around desire. And desire becomes this new frontier for us. And we want to live into this experience and fully be this part in our life. So whereas we've been taking care of others in the past, we've done the nurturing and then the feeding, the chaperoning, the helping with homework, making sure the house doesn't fall apart, etc. We now are less worried about pleasing others. And so we're actually wanting to please ourselves. So this is a biological reality that is based in the human brain, because it's the last big hormonal change that's happening. And Dr. Luana explains in an MRI scan that the actual landscape of the brain has quite a difference from a few years prior. And a constancy in the flow of the impulses to the brain circuits have been replaced by the surges and plunges of estrogen and progesterone caused by the menstrual cycle. The brain circuits don't change all that much in the mature female brain, but the high test fuel, estrogen, that ignited them and pumped up the neurochemicals and oxytocin in the past has eased off. And this is a biological truth. And so the powerful stimulus that we have for the road ahead. So the mature female brain is in a place of much more certainty and is a steadier machine. Because during the menstruation, when we have that sensitivity towards others, we're feeling more emotional. We often can be quite much more negative when we're in our menstruating years. So now we're into this place of the nuances of emotions, and we're not getting the dopamine rush as we did before. So we change our focus a lot. And that the oxytocin is the calming down. And so we are actually okay with the emotion that comes up. And so we're no longer in the societal pleasing of all the other people around us. And we also are not having children in the home often. So then that's not supporting those other chemicals that we used to have. Let's try this. So when I was preparing for this talk, I'd heard over the many years, this term hysteria, and, this word is associated always with women, crazy, the going, she forgets her family and she moves forward and she's in this kind of crazed place. And this term actually comes from, it was originated in ancient Greece. Hippocrates and Plato spoke specifically about the womb of the woman being the hystera. And they said that it tended to wander around the female body, causing an array of physical and mental conditions. So this term, hysteria, often is associated with the mature woman. And, because she's going through all these changes, they say that, there can be anxiety, shortness of breath, fainting, nervousness, sexual desire, insomnia, fluid retention, heaviness in the abdomen, irritability, loss of appetite for food or sex. When I first read this, I was thinking, isn't that, pretty much every week of a woman's life? So it made me laugh in that this is classed usually as a disorder. And Freud actually coined it that it was a female disorder. And it was not just scientific, but it had these demonic type tones to it. So we're definitely throwing that out, and that is not a truth that we have at all for us as women. We know that there is such a different truth to the power we have. I like the quote by Oprah Winfrey when she was turning 50, and she said, "I marvel that at this age, I still feel myself expanding, reaching out and beyond the boundaries of self to become more enlightened than in my 20s. I thought there was some magical adult age I'd reach, 35 maybe, and as an adult, I would be complete." Funny how that number kept changing over the years. How even at 40, labelled by society as middle-aged, I still felt I wasn't the adult I knew I could be. I know for sure that we have to keep transforming ourselves to become who we ought to be. So I'm a quantum healer, and in the field of in the quantum field is where all possibilities exist. And what I've found with my clients is that, there's parts of the younger woman, there's parts of the adolescent woman, the mother, and there's also the matriarchal lineage that needs some healing. So I found quantum healing such a beautiful resource for women. Go back one. So when our estrogen levels have dropped and the oxytocin, and we don't have that connecting hormone so much, leading us in everything we do, it does not at all mean that our sex drive is going to be absent. Our sex drive might fluctuate, but please don't be fooled. There is a newfound love for her life, for this woman, and there also can be a newfound sexuality that emerges for her. So you can find me on Facebook and Instagram, and my business name is Live Life with Wonder. I am offering for women through On Purpose that I'm doing a package of 2 quantum healings and a soulful living coaching. This is a $50 off, making it $500 for 5 hours. And this is available in April and May. And the books that I have, my Soul Blessings books, is a beautiful It's an award-winning book. It's full color art and poetic prose. And then the other 2 books are collaborative books that I am in. And as I spoke at the start, I'm also in a new one being released, which is called Wholehearted Wonder Women 50 Plus. And it's about confidence, courage, and creativity at any age. And I'm at the end of my presentation. And I'd love to answer any questions if you'd like.
You want to stop recording?